So today we are going to start lecture 9, and here we continue on our one-dimensional search, and this time we are going to look at polynomial interpolation. So the basic theory of polynomial interpolation for one-dimensional search is based on the fact that if you have a continuous function, then you can approximate this function by a polynomial in an interval near the point which you are considering. For example, we do this routinely when we consider the Taylor series expansion. So therefore, what you could do is you could find the minimum point of this polynomial, and this minimum point of this polynomial, if the approximation is good, is going to be very close to the minimum point of the actual continuous function. Now, this polynomial interpolation method is an efficient method for one-dimensional search. And this is also implemented in many optimization codes. So essentially, there are a bunch of software packages which have been written for optimization. And all these packages have built-in one-dimensional search, descent algorithms, and so on. And very often, polynomial interpolation is one of the methods which is used in these codes. We will also see later that there are methods known as response surface methods in optimization, where we approximate the nonlinear functions such as f of x, h of x, g of x by polynomials. And these methods have become very powerful, and some of the aspects of this chapter such as curve fitting will help you understand those methods later. So let us consider the fact that all continuous functions seem to be quadratic functions in a sufficiently small region near the minimum point. And therefore, I can write an approximation of the function f of alpha as q standing for quadratic, which is a quadratic function here, and essentially, like in a typical quadratic, there are three constants a0, a1, and a2. Now, to find these three constants, we need 3 points. And so therefore we need to evaluate the function value. Remember, the function is f at these 3 points. Now these 3 points can be selected as the lower and higher limit of an interval which you have zoomed into using a method such as golden section search, and an intermediate point which could be between these 2 points or it could be a different point. So we will call these points alpha subscript L, alpha subscript U as the lower and higher bounds, and alpha subscript I as the intermediate point. So now let us return back to the quadratic equation here, and we have these 3 points. So we put these 3 points into the quadratic here and we get these values. So I have put first alpha L, alpha U, and then alpha I, and I have equated these to the value of the function at alpha L, alpha U, and alpha I. So essentially, at these 3 points, the function value equals the quadratic value. So this is very simple approach which we take typically in a curve fit, and that's what we are doing here. Now these 3 equations can be solved because you know the value of alpha L, alpha U, and alpha I. You also know the value of f alpha L, f alpha U, and f alpha I. So these are 3 simultaneous equations, and I can solve these for a0, a1, and a2. So essentially, this is the solution of the quadratic fit, and you can actually obtain explicit relations for a0, a1, and a2, which you can code in a computer program. Now, if you look closely at these relations, some of these denominator terms are such that they should always be non-zero. So again, these terms involve ui and alpha I, so these should not be same, and also alpha I and alpha L, so these should not be same, and so on. So again, that is of course natural if these points are different points, and these points should be not too close, because then you can have some ill conditioning in some of these denominator terms. So once you have obtained this quadratic fit q of alpha, you can find the minimum point of q of alpha by taking the first derivative of q, setting it to 0. So the first derivative becomes a1 plus 2a2 alpha. You put it equal to 0. You get alpha bar is negative a1 by 2a2. So this is the stationary point for this quadratic function. And again, we take the second derivative, and the second derivative is 2a2, and so this should be greater than 0 for this to be a minimum point. So this is exactly how you can obtain the particular minimum point of the quadratic. Now if the descent direction is well chosen, then all this will work out quite well, and this indeed will be a minimum point if you have satisfied the descent conditions and have made sure that you are actually going down as far as the function is concerned. So if we are going along a descent direction and have chosen 3 points for the quadratic search, then the minimum is bracketed within them, then the minimum of the quadratic approximation will be close to the actual minimum. So the first thing to start off this method would be some interval method has to be used to bracket the minimum point to alpha L, alpha U. And these 2 points are then used to initiate the quadratic search. So essentially the quadratic search is starting off from a point where some kind of rough estimation of this interval has been made. Now the task which is required is what is the value of the third point. So now if you look at the previous 2 methods we have seen, we always zoomed into 3 points q minus 1, q and q plus 1, or q minus 2, q minus 1 and q. Therefore that middle point can be taken to be the third point alpha I. Now while the minimum of this quadratic function may be close to the actual minimum, some kind of iterative procedure can be used to further refine this particular interval. So let us look at it graphically, and this graph is going to become important later as to how you throw out some region of this particular graph. So here we have plotted the function f of alpha for 4 possible cases. So let's look at each of these closely. So the first case is if f of alpha I is less than f of alpha bar. So here you can see this is alpha I here, and the function value is lower than here. Okay, so you have this function here like this. So in this case, what has happened is that this region is going to be the region where your minima is going to lie, and therefore we drop off this region. Now take the second case where f of alpha I is greater than f of alpha bar, and here alpha is here and alpha bar is here, and this is greater. And so here you can see that this region here is going to be the space to consider for finding the minimum point, and therefore we essentially throw out this region here and we declare this as the lower point, this as the higher point, and this as the intermediate point. Both these cases correspond to situations where alpha I is less than alpha bar. So you can see here alpha I is less than alpha bar, alpha is less than alpha bar. Now the second case is where alpha bar is less than alpha I. So here in both cases alpha bar is less than alpha I. So here let us again look at 2 situations. F alpha I is greater than f alpha bar. So you can see here f alpha I, this point, is greater than f alpha bar, which is this point. And also here basically then what happens is we select this part as the part which we retain for further consideration. Here f alpha I is less than f alpha bar. So we can see here that f alpha I is here, f alpha bar is here, so this is less. So therefore now this region is going to be the one which we consider, and so this is the region which we consider. So here I have made these 4 graphs to illustrate a particular situation we are going to look at, where in a computer program you are going to investigate this alpha bar, where it falls, and then depending on where it falls there are 2 possible cases here. you are going to look at the function values, and depending on that you are going to reduce the interval which we started with. So remember that we start with alpha L alpha U in both these cases. We calculate alpha bar and we have alpha I also, and then we essentially bring down the interval by discarding one of these portions where you do not see this particular line here. So these portions are discarded. So essentially this approach is used to reduce the interval size and move on with your particular search. So let us now write down the quadratic interpolation algorithm. So what we do is locate the starting point alpha L alpha U by selecting a value of delta. Okay, so here we can use any of the 0-degree methods which we looked at before, and we use a relatively large delta because we just want to zoom in to the optimum point and we do not want to create a large number of function calculation using that particular method. Now you also find this alpha I as the intermediate point in this particular set. Now typically the zero method would have bracketed the minimum to q minus 1, q and q plus 1, and we could select the qth point as the intermediate point without requiring one more function calculation. And in case that is not so, you could actually calculate this function f of alpha I. Now you can find a0, a1 and a2 for the quadratic fit. And from this quadratic fit you could find alpha bar, f alpha bar value at optimal point of quadratic fit. So in certain cases this value may be sufficient for you to proceed forward. So in case you are satisfied with the rough line search, you could actually go on and use your value of alpha bar calculated here for forward movement, and this would of course depend on how accurately your first method has zoomed on to this minimum point and what is the level of accuracy which your optimization method needs here. But in case you want to further refine it, you look at the approach which I discussed in the graph before. So you first look at this alpha I is less than alpha bar or not, and if this is so, you go to A or B or you go to C and D. So these are the four cases which we have discussed before. So first test in your computer program is going to be this, and remember alpha I is the intermediate point, alpha bar is the point obtained by solving the quadratic equation for its minimum point. So just like in the graph, there are four possible cases. So again, each case depends on the function value comparison you make, and you also make a comparison of where your possible alpha star or the optimal point of the function lies. So in certain cases, if it lies between L and an alpha bar and this function value of f alpha I is less than f alpha bar, then essentially what you do is you take the lower bound as L here, you take the higher bound as alpha bar here, and the intermediate point is the intermediate point. So these superscript 1 signify the new points which you have selected and the interval has come down. So you can see clearly here that alpha L1 is alpha L and alpha U1 is alpha bar. So alpha U of this interval has been discarded. So that side of the problem has been discarded. Similarly, you look at the next situation here, f alpha I is greater than f alpha bar and alpha I is less than alpha star is less than alpha U. So in this kind of situation, alpha L1 is going to be alpha I here, alpha I1 is going to be alpha bar, and alpha U1 is going to be alpha U here. So again, the interval has been reduced from alpha I to alpha U. The third case here is that f alpha I is less than f alpha bar, and this case also has that alpha star lies between alpha bar and alpha U. In this case, alpha L1 becomes alpha bar, alpha I1 becomes alpha I, and alpha U1 becomes alpha U here. Okay. Again, the interval is brought down from alpha L alpha U to alpha bar alpha U. And the fourth case is if f of alpha I is greater than f of alpha bar, then also alpha L less than equal to alpha star less than equal to alpha I. So we look at alpha L1, that will be alpha L here, you look at alpha I1, that will be alpha bar, and alpha U1 would be alpha I. So in all these cases, you see the interval comes down. Here it comes down to alpha L, alpha I. So essentially, this particular process will bring down the interval, and then what you need to do is you need to decide whether to continue or not. So if you have done this two successive times and the minimum point alpha star has been obtained, and remember that alpha star is going to be the midpoint of the newest alpha L and alpha U, and these points are sufficiently close for f of alpha, then you can stop this method. Or you delete this superscripts which we have put here and continue further. Now you can see that if this method is well coded in a good programming language, then you can do this with a minimum number of variables and with scalars. And so that would make this particular approach very efficient. Now some facts about the quadratic fit. Quadratic fit method is popular in practice. You can see it's also quite simple. However, this method can fail to make sufficient progress or also become ill conditioned, and that is because you cannot predict exactly how the quadratic fit is going to look like in a small neighborhood of the particular point, because you are relying on these 3 points alpha L, alpha U and alpha I to form the quadratic fit, and depending on the particular values of some of those coefficients A1, A0 and A2, your method may work or may not work. So in such cases that you have an ill-conditioned situation, you can switch to a zero method such as equal search, and whenever you switch to such a method, interval search for example, it is going to be a robust method. So like I discussed in that particular video, is that whenever you develop professional software, you develop an exit strategy so that you can fall back on a robust but less efficient method. And this kind of approach is known as a safeguard technique and is always built into professional software. Because if you are shipping a professional software, you don't want your algorithm or code to crash and give all kind of messages to the person on the computer or to stall. You want this code to keep running and give you good results. So again, you should build in certain safeguards inside your algorithm that if you are having a divergence problem, you essentially switch the method. Now you could further extrapolate this method to a cubic curve fitting, and here you could use a cubic polynomial such as this one here. Now you would have 4 coefficients, so you would need 4 equations and therefore you would need 4 points. So you would have the upper and lower bound and 2 intermediate points, and then you can create a method around that. Now of course you can immediately see that a cubic interpolation would require more computation. You would have 4 simultaneous equations to solve than the quadratic interpolation. You can also develop some other type of methods beyond cubic and so on, but generally it is found that quadratic and cubic are some of the best methods which you can use. Now the cubic fit is generally going to be more accurate and converge in a smaller number of iterations, and the quadratic fit is going to take a little bit more time. You also keep in mind that hybrid methods are possible. So this itself is somewhat of a hybrid method because you are using some sort of zero order method to converge to a set between alpha L and alpha U and then moving further with the quadratic search. But you could combine these methods also, where you could zoom in with a quadratic search and then further use the golden section, and after some time further switch back to the quadratic search and so on. So again, various permutations and combination of these methods are possible, and you can experiment around these, and these are good situations for developing homework problems or projects on the subject. So again, this was the quadratic search method, and this also gave you an outline about how polynomial interpolation works, because in many situations we can use polynomial interpolations for optimization problem. So I would like to end this lecture now, end of lecture 7, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you very much.